Oh boy. That intro was rough. Sorry about that. But yes, this is Deadeye. She is incredible. I have played her since launch and has been the most fun I've ever had in Black Desert. Uh, I could ramble on and on telling you why I love the class, but really, maybe it's just easier if I show you. Okay, alright, that was the last joke of this video, I promise. But yeah, what is Deadeye? Basically, Deadeye is a ranged class that swaps between three weapons, revolver, shotgun, and a rocket launcher. The combination of these allows her to fight at both close and long range. She's a very high damage class and is considered, I consider to be a true glass cannon. Oftentimes, you will kill players without even needing to crowd control them. And the reverse end of that is she is also probably the squishiest class in the game. She has 0 bonus DR on any of her super armors and very low armor values, or DR values. So you have to rely on your movement skills and your stamina management to stay alive while doing damage. So, obviously, the first thing we want to talk about is outfit selection. No, okay. That was actually the last joke. This is a serious video. Let's start by talking about switch and load. Switch and load is Deadeye's core mechanic. Deadeye can alternate between two ammo types, regular ammo and Marnie rounds. These different ammo types will change the characteristics of every skill in her kit. Now, in general, Marnie rounds are going to have larger AoEs and are considered by most to be the preferred ammo type for dealing damage. Now, while you can go through and look at each skill and see which ones do more damage with regular ammo versus Marnie, the main reason why people prefer the Marnie rounds is because of the rocket skills. The larger AoEs mean that you're just going to be hitting more people more of the time, so you're just going to be doing more damage with them. Additionally, a couple specific skills such as Doom and Gloom hits twice as hard with Marnie rounds. So, I know what you're going to ask. If Marnie rounds are that good, why would I ever swap to regular ammo? Well, this is because of the core functionality of the switch and load mechanic. If we read this skill description, we will see that using switch and load immediately after certain skills will reset those skills' cooldowns. The main ones you want to look at here are Mayhem, Bulletstorm, Run and Gun, and Sunset Piercer. Also, if we scroll down, you'll see that her shotgun skills shred DP and her rocket launcher skills shred evasion. Now, when you pair this with add-ons, you can remove 50 DP from somebody just from a single shotgun skill. It's actually pretty crazy. Now, if you're asking me which skills do I want to focus on refreshing with switch and load, I'd say most of the time it's going to be your WF, Mayhem, because it's a protected CC, and probably my favorite, Running Gun. Running Gun is just a great mobility skill with low stamina cost, and it does really, really high damage. Also, more situationally, you can use it with Sunset Piercer, Shift E, and you can cycle this skill continuously. This one is more niche, we will say, but if you're on high ground and large scale, being able to shoot continuously like this without moving is situationally pretty useful. And also, Sunset Piercer does a ton of damage. Do not sleep on Sunset Piercer. That skill hits like crazy. Finally, I'm going to talk about Deadeye's class buff. This is Gunslinger Standoff. It has unique functionality with the switch and load mechanic. So when we cast Gunslinger Standoff, we get plus 10 AP for 30 seconds, and critical hit 30% for 30 seconds as well. However, every time we switch and load to refresh a cooldown, we gain plus 10 AP at the cost of reducing the time of that buff. That said, every time we refresh a skill cooldown subsequently, you will extend that buff up to plus 10 each time up to a maximum of 40. And that's all there in the skill description. But I'm just going to demonstrate for you how it works. I'll highlight over here the buff you need to look at, but I'll just show you, demonstrate as I go. So we cast the buff. Now we have plus 10 AP. Refresh the cooldown. Now it should be at plus 20. However, my buff is now at 7 seconds. We refresh Run and Gun here. It goes back up to 10 seconds. Now we should be at plus 20 AP. Let's do it another time with Mayhem. Now we should be at 30 AP. And we'll do this one more time. And we should be at 40 AP when I hover over this buff. There it is, plus 40 AP. That's how you maintain your class buff and get the 40 AP that they're talking about. So basically, as long as you have that buff active, you want to be constantly switching ammo types. So because we already have, in general, very short cooldowns, combined with the switch and load mechanic, you'll see that there really is no set, strict movement or protection rotation for Deadeye. You really have a lot of flexibility to do what you want whenever you want. And I'll just move around the map here and give you an idea of what you really can do. And the only thing you really have to watch out for is running yourself out of stamina. Now, if you find yourself running out of stamina very quickly on Deadeye, one thing I've seen a lot of Deadeyes doing that I don't like is using Sidewinder on cooldown. Sidewinder is your shift plus directional input, iframe. It has a 2-second cooldown and therefore is very tempting to use it in between all of your other skills. While this is great mobility, it does drain your stamina very quickly. So, I would look at that and ask yourself, am I using Sidewinder when I need it, or am I using it just because it feels good and it's force of habit? The other big stamina draining skills are your Shift Q, your SE, and Trailblazer, the rope swing. So when you're using particularly Shift Q and the follow-up rocket, make sure you're getting value out of it. You really can't afford to be missing that skill. Same thing with SE, evasive maneuver. Now, while Deadeye is a quote-unquote range class, she's different from the other traditional range classes like Witch, Wizard, Ranger, or Archer in that she really wants to be close to her opponents. And while Archer, Ranger, and Witch, Wizard skills are designed to do damage while kiting, particularly Suck Ranger and Archer, Deadeye skills do damage while she is moving towards you. Look at Gunslinger's entrance. Look at Doom and Gloom. Running Gun, designed to be moving around your opponent, not away from it. Even Shift Q into your rocket. These all move you towards your opponent. The only skill we have that moves away from our opponent and does damage is SE, which shoots a rocket afterwards. So, the worst thing you can do on Deadeye, and usually if you are in a losing fight, it's because you are being forced to run away. I cannot do damage on this class while running away. Unless I turn around and, and then I'm not really running. So, one thing I hate to see, especially in AOS this season, was Deadeyes that were just trying to kite. You don't really want to kite this. Sure, you have to avoid grabs, but you have the tools to do so with your iframes and other skills. So just try to think about that. Even if you're in a tough fight, you always want to be putting pressure by moving forward on this class. You don't want to be forced to kiting. You are not a kiting class. Now you might ask, what about the rocket skills? Aren't these very good range damage options? And yes, they certainly are. However, they are all unprotected, mostly unprotected, have long cooldowns, and there's really just not that many of them. So at some point, you're going to be forced to go back to close range and use your running gun, use your mobility, pistol, and shotgun skills. Ideally, the time that you want to be using your rocket skills is in group fights where you have space to do so. Say you have a clump and you have not being immediately pressured, you can get off all your rocket skills and will contribute a lot of really, really good damage. So definitely use these skills when you can, but also keep in mind that Deadeyes are a priority target, partially because they do so much damage, and partially because they're very killable. So usually you're going to have somebody running at you. Sometimes you're going to have multiple people running at you. And therefore, getting off your rocket skills is not always going to be an option. But do so when you can, and if not, no big deal. Just remember you want to always be putting pressure on your opponents with damage, trying not to run away from them. So, we want to be close to our opponents and dealing damage, but at the same time, we're a very squishy class. How do you make this work? Most of the time, this just comes down to good positioning and being smart with how you use your Gunslinger's entrance and Doom and Gloom. If you're trying to hit a player from here, but you don't want to be in melee range, you can use your camera to make sure you don't end up right here and still have a somewhat safe distance. The other trick you need to get good at is using your forward guard skills. So first off, your Q block, but also your SF and SE. It's a very quick combo that does a lot of damage and has a forward guard. So using those to mitigate damage along with your iframe and SE when you absolutely need it is a very long iframe. So being smart with how you position yourself is really, really important. And I think I'll just show a couple clips here from group PvP just to demonstrate how I like to position in ball fights, so you can see what I mean about getting close enough to deal damage, but also not being inside of a clump where you're just going to get one-shotted. So this is from an uncapped war earlier this week. Let's see what we do here. And we start with mortar. I don't think this ends up where I want. Yep, that's in a tree. We use the rope swing to find this area just outside of the fight, and now, like I said, we use the camera turns to stay here without getting in the middle of where all the damage is being thrown, and shooting all the damage into the fight, into their ball. We get in, get flanked, now it's time to leave. Alright, here's another clip. This was from a T1. Now, T1s in other capped wars, T1s and 2s, are a little bit funny for Deadeye because your damage is so heavily nerfed that it's kind of hard to find the same value. At the same time, you're a lot more survivable, though. But if you're wondering why you're maybe not getting kills in cap content, just know that it's just not a great cap for Deadeye. She strives in uncapped. Alright, so we get called to pull. We're at range, and we have space for rockets. We see a lot of low health bars, so we jump in. And now is where we go for the backline. I think I do stun some people here with WF, but we're just being annoying waiting for the team to follow up. So, I only get 2 kills here, but like I said, that is just partially because of the caps. I think if this was uncapped, I'd probably get 3 or 4, maybe more. Let's talk about catches and CCs. Now, the bad news is we have some of the worst catches in the game. We don't have a single protected KD or knockdown. All we have are protected stuns, and that's really it. The good news is, however, we don't really need a protected KD. This class does so much damage to people standing up that your real focus should be on maintaining your movement, maintaining your stamina, and constantly dealing damage. Then, when you do get a CC, hopefully someone is already at half health or worse. So, you can just finish them off with a very simple combo. That is the ideal scenario for a Deadeye. It is very exceedingly rare that you will have to do a full optimal combo on somebody that is full HP and remove their entire HP bar while they're on the ground. So when I talk about catches, CCs, and then later combos, just keep that in mind. So as I mentioned, the only super armor or protected CCs that we have are our 2 stuns, Mayhem and Max Pain. Now, on their own, these are not that spectacular. Anybody that is rotating protections or even holding a forward guard at you is probably not going to get hit by these. So you have a couple options to mix them up and get behind the forward guard or find gaps. One, you can Gunslinger's entrance into WF to get around them. However, you'll see that if you Gunslinger's entrance right into somebody, they're probably just going to grab you, especially if they're, certain classes. So you can mix this up a little bit more by using Gunslinger's entrance, pressing A or D at the same time. Here, I'll turn on this so you can turn on the key settings. So you can Gunslinger's entrance A or D to move around them, and then stay out of grab range. I can't talk. Stay out of grab range and still get behind a forward guard. So that's just a useful little trick for Gunslinger's entrance into WF. Secondly, Max Pain has some unique functionality with Running Gun. Now, I haven't mentioned this, but Running Gun, when used specifically with the regular ammunition will continuously track your target as long as you're holding L and B. I do not have to keep my reticle on them like I would have to in the Marnie rounds. Notice I do that in Marnie rounds. The bullets don't track them. So, when you're in regular ammo and you press Running Gun, you can follow it up with Max Pain and it will automatically target your opponent regardless of where they are or where your reticle is. Notice how reticle was over here, he still got stunned. So, that's another neat little trick that you can use with Running Gun to get Max Pain. So, apart from Mayhem and Max Pain, your 2 protected stuns, all of our other CC options are going to be unprotected. So, you're either going to be using them when you know there's a gap, or, hey, maybe you're just gambling, and while I don't recommend it, I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes you just gotta gamble. So I'll talk about some of these unprotected CCs. Some of these are going to be used as your re-CC in the middle of combos, depending on which one you like. You have some options. So we'll start with stiffen out of your Q block. We haven't talked about Q block much, but LMB out of Q block leads to a stiffen, which leads to a full combo. So, quick stiffen, worth it if you can get it. Next we have spacebar after certain skills. So like after running gun, you can press spacebar. You can also RMB to apply a knockback, and then follow it with spacebar. Again, leads into a full combo. We have Sidewinder into RMB, and this is my preferred. Re-CC. I think it's just a good iframe to reposition, followed by a CC. So, oh, sorry, that's running gun. So, Sidewinder into RMB. That is a knockdown. That is, like I said, what I like to use most of the time for my re-CCs. And finally, final draw. If you take the Rebomb skill, Shift X. So this is also a knockdown. Also a really good option for re-CCs. Oh, and finally, holy shit, we need to grind. Your rocket skills, Shift C, SC, do apply knockdowns each.
I'll put you 6 feet under.
Alright, so I think that covers everything I really wanted to talk about in this video. I don't think it is a comprehensive guide by any means. I think there's a few things that I skipped over or didn't really get into, such as like her PSR or the new Magnus skill, but I think it's a pretty good introduction to the class, how I think she should be played, and as well as including some tips and tricks for general gameplay. I'll leave you with this crystal build. This is what I use for Uncapped, for those that are wondering. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. If you like Deadeye, I hope all the console guys that are getting her this week, love the class. And let me know what you're enjoying with her. 322, famous Dota number for those that know. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh, holy.